So these are the main drivers in a business. Production, a significant driver, and what changes is, need to be made around that. Is that changing what you're farming? Is that needing to increase what you're farming? Do you need to diversify what you're farming, diversify income? It may be that you can't produce anymore, you're at capacity with your production, and therefore you might need to look at other drivers within the business that you have some influence or some control over marketing. So again, we go back to that, how is it sold? I have a grower on the coast who, in his last tomato crop, made a really good, he had a really good crop out of it, made some good money out of it. Next time around, there was an influx of tomatoes. They had the virus in South Australia, and every other border closed their, with the tomato family, every other border closed their borders to South Australian tomatoes, except New South Wales. So all of a sudden, simple supply and demand. So he was forced to find a new market. He had no choice. He had a whole crop of tomatoes. And he did successfully out in Brisbane. So that sometimes you need to be really resourceful to look for new markets. If you're selling through a stock agent, is there an opportunity to sell direct? Is there, I know some, regenerative farmers or organic farmers that do a lot of social media because there's so much, people want to be a part of that world, and organic farming and regenerative farming and things like that. And social media reaches a lot of people. So is there other opportunities there? Is there something unique about your product? So what are my finance goals? Have I gone through and done my cash flow and realised, hey, I need to approach the bank for an overdraft? Because, I do at times through the year have a cash flow deficit. What kind of lending do you need? This is where the bank's built. An overdraft is a fluctuating facility. It's not designed to be core debt. It's designed to give you some capital when you don't have it, but then to come back into, the black, so to speak. If it is, it's not to purchase plant or machinery or anything like that. You go to the bank for that type of finance, and they'll be looking at term loans for you. People, having a good team of people is such a huge strength. It's really valuable. Those regulations with your family, decision makers in the farm, even if they're not major decision makers, be transparent with what's happening on the farm, what your decisions might be, where the farm's moving. The more people that are aware of what's happening and what your plans are on the farm, so that everyone can work in the same direction, be on the same page, work in the same direction. Retention, it's such a massive thing. You don't need to have to be going out and looking for new contractors. If you're already familiar with a contractor, you treat them well in your business. As I said, it's an expensive thing if you don't treat people well in your business. It's time consuming, it's expensive to go out and to sort new resources to fill that gap. And resources. So this is looking at what you have, and this could be in terms of resources, plant, machinery. It could be, just general infrastructure, but also, finance, as we spoke about that. Access to working capital. Do you have the resources that you need on your farm to operate your farm? Do you need to upgrade some plant and machinery? And if so, does that mean, a conversation with the bank and an application there? So being aware of what your goals are, do you have the resources in place to achieve those goals? So there's no point having a goal if you don't necessarily have the right resources in place. Or they need upgrading and you're aware of that. They might need upgrading within the next 6 months or 2 years, whatever it is. Identify what resources you have. Is it sufficient? Are they sufficient to achieve your goals? So with these categories, within all those categories or drivers that we've just gone through, some of the different things that can be a part of that is diversification strategies. Looking at how you can, if you're reliant on one income source, is there any opportunity to diversify in some way? So if there is an oversupply of that particular product that you've got, do you have something else that you can, that might be in more demand? Agritourism, a big thing, as I think a few have mentioned. Agritourism, a great way of diversifying. Farm stays are such a popular thing at the moment. You know, they're very, very popular. Do you have the potential or the capacity to think of something like that? It's what can I do to make sure that I've got a as consistent as I can income in my business. If I'm in drought, I'm still earning money here. If there's an oversupply of this product, I've got this product. Financial planning, as we were talking about, really important to know what your financial goals are, what that means, and who's involved in that planning. Mental health support, huge thing. I sort of spoke about wellbeing and how important that is to you operating effectively in your business. With what farmers have gone through over the last 4 years since I've been back on the coast, it's extraordinary. I can understand this client of mine ringing up saying, give me a reason to get out of bed. I'm just done. I'm cooked with this. Grower associations. I don't know if people are a part of any grower associations. Got any growers up here? But again, they're really valuable, and having those network connections, they're a great network connection to have, where people can share best practice. I'm thinking sustainable practices. Regenerative farming is becoming quite popular.
So thank you everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. Hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've got a lot out of it.